first of all, I'm going to make a note that you would see this question on a non-calculator part of the exam or non-calculator part of the test. So our brain does a little bit of a change if they tell us you're allowed a calculator or you're not allowed a calculator, right? If you're allowed a calculator, you start to think, oh, I might have to find reference angles with my calculator. If I'm not allowed a calculator, I start to think, okay, this is probably a pie plate kind of question, even if it doesn't show up at the beginning. Again, we want to solve a trig equation. Let's get that cos squared by itself. At this point, you might be tempted, because you see the 1/2, and you know that cos of pi over 3 is a half, but this question's different because it has cos squared instead of just cos. Yes? No, it's still good here. All the values are positive, so I just divided by 2. Yeah. So how do I get rid of a squared? Square root. And when you square root, this is where that negative comes in. When you square root both sides of the equation, you have to write plus or minus. And this whole side is going to get square rooted. And at this moment, we're back to being a little bit stuck because we don't have a big square root of a half anywhere on our pie plate. You're going to have to go back to grade 11 and think a little bit about how do I simplify square roots? Well, I could square root the top, which is 1, and have a square root of 2 on the bottom, which you might recognize this is the same as, you rationalize the denominator, root 2 over 2, and then we have the realization this is on our pie plate. 1 over root 2 over 2. That happens with our pi over 4 family. But this question's in degrees, so it happens with my 45-degree family. And it's going to be in all 4 quadrants. 45 degrees, 135 degrees, 225 degrees, and 315 degrees. And finally, I checked my domain and they haven't changed it. It's so happy. It's just between 0 and 360. Our answers are all good. So sometimes you can get rid of a squared by square rooting both sides. Sometimes you have a cos squared and another cos. You're going to have to either factor or use the quadratic formula. Questions for this one are 5 and 11. And for number 5, I think the instructions say verify, and they give you one answer that's correct. I'd like you to, instead of verifying, just change verify to solve. Solve it like normal between 0 and 2 pi. And in your solution, one of your solutions should match up with the one they want you to verify.